When we hear about net worth, we tend to only hear it in relation to the super wealthy, but everybody has a net worth. The first time that I actually thought of calculating my net worth was last year. And it was so good because I actually realized when I calculated it that I had managed to move my net worth from negative £50,000 roughly when I graduated university to 6 figures by last year when I checked. In this video, I want to share with you guys a simple strategy that I use to increase my net worth, and I think this strategy will work for everybody. It's very, very simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Before we get into this video, you guys, I will be doing a webinar next week Saturday called Own Your Money. And guys, I have managed to get one of my mentors, the wealthiest person that I know that I have a personal relationship with, to join the webinar. So she's also going to be there. It's going to be so good, you guys. Tickets are down below. There are only a few left. So if you are planning to attend, grab them now because it's going to be so good. But anyways, let's get into this video. So if you want to increase your net worth, the first thing you need to do is actually calculate your net worth. And I think most people will be shocked, especially if I'm thinking about the demographic of my channel, which is people who are typically university to like early 30s. Most of us, if we weren't fortunate enough to have a full scholarship to university or have our parents pay for our university, will graduate on a negative net worth because we will have some debt to our name. So the way to calculate your net worth is to add up all of your assets, then you minus all of your liabilities, and that will give you your net worth. That's adding up all the cash that you have, all the savings that you have, your pensions, if you have a house, the value of the house, if you have a car, the current value of the car. So that will all go into your assets column. So you add that all up, and then you will add up your liability. So that's any debt that you have, any credit card payments that you need to make, any overdrafts. If you are on finance, if you're financing your car, if you're financing your house, all of that will go into your liabilities. And then the net of that, so take those two away, that will give you your net worth. You can find a net worth calculator on Google. My net worth when I graduated looked something like this. I actually did graduate with a sizable amount of assets. I've spoken about this before when I've spoken about my savings journey and my journey to buy my first property, that I graduated with around £30,000 worth of savings. But then I had student debt of around maybe like £50,000. So I graduated on like negative 20,000 of net worth. Now that you kind of worked out your net worth, the next thing you want to do is pick one of these 3 strategies to help you increase your net worth. So you're either going to pay down your debt, you're going to increase your assets, or you're going to do both. So let's go with the paying down the debt strategy first. This is one that most personal finance gurus would advise. If you reduce your liabilities, then your net worth will increase. So if we go back to my example, if I graduated with 0 student debt and I had £30,000 worth of savings, then I would have had a net worth of 30K as opposed to a net worth of negative 20K. If you do decide that this is where you want to go first, your absolute priority needs to be paying down high interest debt first. So whenever you borrow money in this capitalistic society that we live in, there is a cost of borrowing. That is why people will tell you to pay off your debt first, because you are not only just going to be paying back what you borrowed, but you'll be paying that back and then some. However, if you are going to pay down your debt first, definitely check for penalties, because like I just explained, right, when people or institutions lend you money, they are lending you money with the idea that they're going to get back more than what they borrowed you, because you are going to have to pay interest. They already have a model of how much they're going to make from you over the next 24 months or over the next 25 years. If you have a mortgage, they know how much they want to make from you. So then if you come now and you say you want to pay back your debt in half the time, a lot of the times you might face a penalty because they borrowed you that money on the basis of they were going to make a certain amount from you. If you are from the UK, I know that people tend to say, oh, like, don't worry about student loan debt, blah, blah, blah. But I've said this before and I will say this again. If you are a mid-high earner, you really want to look at whether you should be paying back your debt early or not, because the way it works in the UK is after 30 years post your graduation, your student loans will be cleared off. So for a lot of people, if you aren't going to be earning that much money, you probably won't ever pay off that entirety of your student debt. However, if you are a mid to high earner, you will pay back that money. And so the longer that you let it run, so let's say, I think maybe when I calculated it for me, maybe it was like 28 years. The longer I leave it to pay back that money, the more I'm going to have to pay them back. back. So let's say, my example, I borrowed 50K from the UK government to go to university, but then I might end up having to pay back 75K because the interest is so high, you guys. And another thing is your interest on your loan starts before you graduate. We'll definitely be getting into more depth on this in the webinar. So then the other way to increase your net worth is just to build on the asset side. When I say build your assets though, I want to be really clear on like building assets, like building assets, investing into assets rather than just holding cash, because a lot of people hold cash and you save money just to then spend it on a liability. For example, you might have £5,000 saved for the 3 holidays that you want to go on this year. That money that you have saved is not really going to go towards increasing your net worth, although cash goes into that equation. So what you really want to be doing, make sure that you're investing that money. So investing into your pension, investing into property, investing into stocks and shares ISA. These are all of the things that we're going to be going into in the webinar. If you have debt, but you want to go the building your assets investing route, ideally you know that the investment is going to be good, and it's better for you to do the investment if the interest on the investment is higher than the interest that you're going to be paying on your debt. I think with assets it's a little bit more trickier because there are certain things that are assets, but if you are looking at increasing your net worth, I wouldn't say they're necessarily the best investments to make. So for example, if you're looking at buying a car, yes, a car is an asset. A car is a depreciating asset. So every single year the value of your car will go down. Every extra mile that you go, the value of your car will go down. Or you can do both, and this is what I have been doing for the last, since I graduated, so like 2.5 years, because one, I think the paying down the debt route, I 100% get it. And a lot of people who are deep entrenched in the personal finance community, their whole thing is like, get rid of all debt, get rid of all debt, get rid of all debt. The reason why I'm not the biggest fan of just pay down all of your debt as soon as possible is because one, I'm in the UK and the only debt that I really have is my student finance debt in my personal name. But also paying down debt can be really, really boring. When you pay down debt, the only thing that's really happening is your net worth is increasing, but you don't get any actual physical value from it, right? On the other side, like when you're building your assets column, when you're investing, like you have a house, you can see the house, you get some sort of like joy from it. If I was just doing that, I wouldn't enjoy the journey as much. And I think that it's important for you to enjoy the journey of anything that you want to do, to make sure that you do it for as long as possible and that you actually stay consistent with it. And so that's why for me, I chose to do both. So I'm actively, trying to pay down all of my student debt as quickly as I can, but also prioritizing investing and building assets at the same time, because the great thing about assets as well is that compounding really does well with assets. Let's say I didn't even pay down my student loan, right, and it took me 29 years to pay it down. If I buy one property, I know that in 30 years, the increase in value that I would have had on that property would be enough for me to just take out that cash and just pay down my student loans all at once. And that's literally it, you guys. It really doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Figure out what your net worth is, pick one of these strategies, and you just go for it. It's not going to be easy, like, life is hard. I would just recommend kind of automating the process and just kind of forgetting about it, letting it happen, and then eventually you look back on your debt, you're like, oh wow, like that's really gone down a lot. Or you look at your investments and you're like, oh wow, that's really increased a lot. So I just want to remind you guys again that we are having the Own Your Money webinar coming up on Saturday. I'm so excited. The first half is going to be all about the personal finance stuff, anything that's to do with financial stability, and the second half is all going to be about like building wealth, side hustles, investment, mental models. I think this is the part that I'm really excited to talk about, is the mental models, like even just like my move to Dubai, taxes. Oh my god, we are so going to talk about taxes. I can't wait. I feel like I haven't been in my personal finance property element for a while. When was the last time I spoke about personal finance? I think I did one video on savings at the end of last year, but I feel like I haven't really been in that gist, and so I'm like storing up so much knowledge that I just cannot wait to share. So I'll leave the link in the description box. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Next week we are going to be doing a moving vlog. I'm finally moving into my apartment today, actually, in Dubai. So that's what the vlog next week is going to be. I'll see you guys then. Bye.